Welcome to the channel Darkness in the Night. Before the story begins, I need to make one thing clear. Everything you are about to hear is fictional. But if, late at night, your heart slows as certain details resurface in your mind, that part is on you. I am writing these lines on a rainy morning, when the damp, moldy smell from the basement still clings to my nostrils, even though I left Huyen Quang Hospital more than a year ago. Some smells are strange that way. Once they seep in, you never truly forget them. The scent of bleach mixed with rusted iron, the cold smell of metal, and a faint trace of something metallic and raw, so faint that if you aren't used to it, you'd think it was just your imagination. I thought so too, until I started the night shift in the B3 morgue. I took this job for the money. Plain and simple. 20 million a month, night shifts only, no living patients, no pressure to save lives. When I signed the contract, my hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from relief. I thought I just had to endure a few months, pay off my bank debt, then transfer departments. That was all. That afternoon, I was called to the office on the 4th floor. A small room, dim yellow light, windows shut tight. The air smelled of old paper and cold tea. The man behind the desk stared at me for a long moment. His eyes deep and dark, as if weighing something far more important than the file in front of him. "Are you sure you want this?" he asked. "Once you start, it's hard to quit." His voice was low and slow, each word falling heavily, as if hitting the floor. I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. "Yes, I'm sure," I said. "I need the money." He said nothing else. He opened a drawer and took out a folded A4 sheet, creased into quarters. When he placed it on the desk, I noticed smudges of blue ink, the handwriting uneven and shaky, as if written hastily during a very long night. He slid the paper toward me, his thin finger resting lightly on its edge. "These are the rules. You must memorize them. Don't ask why. Follow them exactly, and you'll be safe." I picked up the paper. A strange chill spread from it into my fingertips. As I read each line, my heartbeat slowed, not because I didn't understand, but because part of me sensed that something was wrong. These weren't hospital regulations. They felt more like instructions given before stepping into a place that should not exist. On my first night, I went down to B3 at 10 o'clock. The elevator creaked, its light flickering. When the doors opened, a wave of cold air rushed out, carrying the sharp stench of bleach. The hallway was long. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly, clicking in a steady rhythm, like someone tapping fingernails against metal. I sat at the duty desk. Old wood, deeply scratched, as if something had clawed at it with great force. On the desk sat a small incense bowl and a shallow plate of rice and salt. I recalled each rule, feeling as though someone was standing behind me, silently reading along inside my head. I muttered under my breath, so quietly I could barely hear myself. "Calm down, it's just a morgue." Behind the metal wall, the refrigeration units hummed steadily, like the breathing of some massive creature asleep. Around 11, the door opened. 2 staff members pushed a gurney inside, the wheels screeching softly over the cold tiles. "New arrival," one of them said, voice tired, shoulders slumped, eyes avoiding mine. "An elderly woman. Family will come in the morning." I nodded, completed the paperwork, careful not to look too long at the face covered by the white sheet. As I slid the drawer into place, metal scraping against metal echoed dully. I avoided staring at the name tag, reading it only silently, just as the rules instructed. The night dragged on. Every minute felt stretched thin. After 3 a.m., when my eyelids grew heavy, a sudden beeping shattered the silence. I jolted upright. The automatic tag printer had turned on. I stared at it, my heart pounding so hard my ears rang. Rule number 3, I reminded myself, gripping the edge of the desk. The printer spat out a tag. Then another. I didn't pick them up. I looked away, at the damp-stained wall, where cracks formed grotesque shapes, like warped faces frozen in pain. In that moment, I heard a faint vibration of metal, as if someone were tapping fingernails from the inside. I held my breath, a cold sensation crawling up my spine. Then the sound stopped, abruptly, leaving behind a heavier silence than before. Near dawn, I heard something else, very faint, like a child's laughter, drifting from the far end of the hallway. I clearly remembered a rule about this. Cold sweat broke out along my neck. I didn't stand up. I stayed seated, eyes locked on the closed door. "Go back to your mother, it's late," I whispered, my voice trembling, the words slipping out on instinct. The sound vanished. No laughter, no footsteps, only the steady hum of the refrigeration units, as if nothing had ever happened. When morning came, I left B3 with the feeling that I had survived something that should never have occurred. I told myself it was just exhaustion and stress. But when I got home and washed my face, I looked into the mirror and saw deep dark circles under my eyes, like I hadn't slept for days. Even though it had only been my first night, I thought I would get used to it. I thought that as long as I followed the rules, everything would be fine. I didn't know that very night, something had begun to move, slowly, patiently, and that it had noticed me the moment I finished reading the final rule. After the first night shift, I seriously considered quitting, not because of the strange sounds or the bizarre rules, but because of a feeling I couldn't quite name. It felt like I had unknowingly signed a contract where no one bothered to read the fine print aloud. But that morning, when I checked my bank account and saw the advance payment had come through, I laughed at myself, a grown adult, scared of nonsense. That's what I told myself, even as the smell of bleach seemed to cling to my clothes. Despite washing them twice, the second night passed quietly, so quietly that it made me careless. No children's laughter, no printer activating on its own, no shaking drawers. I grew used to the steady hum of the refrigeration units, the flickering fluorescent lights, even the loneliness. I started to believe that the first night had just been a coincidence. Until the third night, around 1:30 in the morning, as I was updating the previous case records, I heard a faint metallic sound. Clack, then clack clack. It was subtle, but in the silence of the basement, it was sharp enough to make my heart skip a beat. Slowly, I lifted my head and looked toward the row of cold drawers. Drawer number 13. I remember that moment clearly. It wasn't a sudden burst of terror, but a slow realization, like watching an accident about to happen and knowing you can't stop it. The drawer trembled ever so slightly, almost imperceptible unless you were looking straight at it. But I was looking, and I knew I wasn't imagining it. I stood up. My legs no longer felt like they belonged to me. I stepped to the right side of the duty desk and turned my back, exactly as the rules instructed. My hands clasped together in front of my chest. Ice cold. Namo Amitabha Buddha, I recited silently, my inner voice trembling. Namo Amitabha Buddha. By the 9th repetition, the vibration stopped completely. I stayed still for a few more seconds, ears straining. Nothing, just the steady hum of the refrigeration units. I let out a breath, feeling like someone who had been underwater far too long and finally surfaced. As I turned back toward the desk, the camera monitor flickered. Camera number 4, the screen filled with static. Then a dark shape swept across it, so fast that if you blinked, you would miss it. My spine went cold. My hand shook as I reached for the power button. Stay calm, 7 minutes? I muttered to myself, breathing fast. I watched the clock. Each second dragged by, unbearably heavy. During those 7 minutes, I heard sounds that made no sense, unclear. Not quite voices, like distorted whispers leaking through the metal walls. I covered my ears, but the sounds still crept into my head, as if they didn't travel through hearing at all. When I turned the monitor back on, the camera feed was normal again. The hallway was empty. Drawer 13 lay still, cold and silent. I gave a dry laugh, cold sweat running down my temples. See? Nothing there, I told myself, but my voice sounded strange, like it didn't entirely belong to me. In the nights that followed, the incidents began to repeat in subtler ways, not always with clear signs. Sometimes it was just the feeling that someone was standing very close behind me. Sometimes it was a faint metallic odor drifting through the air, even when there were no new bodies. Once, as I bent down to pick up a pen, I heard breathing, soft, right next to my ear, cold and damp. "Are you on duty alone tonight?" a voice whispered behind me. Extremely close, warm breath brushed the back of my neck, sending goosebumps across my skin. I spun around. No one was there. The hallway was empty, yellow light spilling weakly onto the cold tiles. My heart raced. My throat went dry. I finally understood why Dr. Kwong had said, "Once you start, it's hard to quit." The peak came on the 5th night. 3:20 a.m. The tag printer started up again. The steady beeping sounded like an amplified heartbeat. I stood up on instinct, about to turn away, but for reasons I still don't understand. My feet carried me toward the printer instead, as if something was pulling me in. The first tag slid out. Blank. The second one. Blank. The third made me freeze. Printed on it was a black and white photo of me. I recognized it instantly. My face looked exhausted, eyes half closed, head slumped on the duty desk. The photo was taken from above, an angle I knew for certain had no camera. Below the image, faint words appeared. "Drawer 13 is ready to welcome the sun home." My hands shook violently. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I looked around, feeling as if the room itself were closing in. I don't remember when I slipped the tag into my pocket. I only remember making a phone call, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. "Sir," my voice cracked, my throat tightening. The printer, it printed a tag, with my photo. On the other end of the line, silence stretched on, too long, long enough that I thought the call had dropped. "Listen to me," finally. A whisper came through, very soft, very slow. "Do not touch drawer 13. Hide the tag. Don't tell anyone. I'll come down in the morning." The call ended. I collapsed into the chair, clutching my head with both hands. And in that moment, I realized something that sent ice through my veins. The photo had been taken at 2 a.m. at that time. I was absolutely certain I hadn't fallen asleep. I remembered clearly, because at exactly 2, I had stood up to make coffee. So, who had been sitting in my seat? And who had taken that photograph? I lifted my head and looked toward the row of drawers. Under the pale lights, it felt as though drawer 13 was swelling slightly. Just barely, like the chest of someone breathing in the dark. After that phone call, I couldn't sleep anymore. Not because of the image on the tag, but because the feeling of being watched never went away. I could sit in my cramped rented room, door locked, lights on, and still feel as if something were staring at me from a hidden corner. Every time I closed my eyes, drawer 13 appeared again, swelling ever so slightly, like a chest that did not belong to the living. On the 7th night, I returned to B3 with a heavy heart. I had planned to quit. I had even typed out a long message on my phone. But then I deleted it. Something inside me told me that quitting now would only make things worse. I don't know why I believed that, Maybe because I had begun to understand that this place did not like being abandoned. The moment I stepped out of the elevator, I knew the atmosphere was different. Colder. Not the cold of air conditioning or machinery, but a chill that seeped into the bones. The damp, moldy smell thickened, mixed with a strong metallic stench, so strong I had to cover my nose. The fluorescent lights still clicked, but their flicker was uneven, as if someone were deliberately interrupting them. I sat at the duty desk and carefully set the incense bowl and the plate of rice and salt in place. I stared at the small flame, afraid that if I blinked, it would go out. A single warning echoed in my head. Don't let it go out. Don't let it go out. Close to 2 a.m., I heard footsteps. Very slow, very steady, not like the shoes of hospital staff, and not like familiar sandals. The sound was dry and heavy, as if bare feet were pressing against the cold tiles. Is someone there? My voice came out low and hoarse, unfamiliar even to me. No answer. The footsteps stopped right outside the duty room. I stared at the metal door, my heart pounding so hard my ears rang. Then came the knocking. Knock, knock, knock. A pause. Knock, knock, knock. Another pause. Knock, knock, knock. My entire body went rigid. That rhythm, I knew it well. Free, free, free. The knocking used in rituals for the dead. My hands trembled, cold sweat breaking out. I stood up and grabbed the red pen from the drawer. My fingers stiffened as I forced myself to write on the door. Go to the temple and chant. The letters were crooked, slanted to one side. I stepped back and sat down, barely daring to breathe. Outside, the silence stretched on, too long. Then I began to hear whispering, like someone chanting very softly and very fast. The voice distorted, impossible to tell whether it was male or female. I shut my eyes tight, my head filled with the roar of blood rushing through my ears. When I opened my eyes, the door was still closed. No one was there, but I knew it hadn't left. Around 3 o'clock, camera 4 suddenly filled with heavy static. The screen went dark, then displayed something that made my stomach tighten. In the frame, I saw myself, not a reflection, me, sitting at the duty desk, head down, writing, but I was standing there, watching the screen. The double in the camera slowly raised its head. The face was identical to mine in every detail, but the eyes were empty and hollow, like two black pits. It smiled, a smile without emotion. It's almost your turn. The voice came through the camera speaker. Very soft, very cold, mixed with static. I'm so cold. I stumbled backward, bumping into the desk behind me. My legs went weak, nearly giving out. I reached for the power button, and just before the screen went dark, I saw the double tilt its head, eyes locking onto me, as if it knew exactly where I was. I don't know how long I sat there afterward. I only know that when the screen came back on, the camera showed an empty hallway. No me, no one at all, yet the sense of presence remained, heavy, like a stone pressing on my chest. Near dawn, I heard metal scraping, very slow, very clear. I didn't turn around, I couldn't, but I knew a drawer was opening behind me. I could hear breathing, cold, damp, very close. Don't turn around, a voice whispered right beside my ear. It sounded exactly like mine, except it lacked the rhythm of a living person's breath. I squeezed my eyes shut, lips moving in prayer, but my mind suddenly went blank. Not a single verse came to me. Only one thought remained. If I turned my head, I would no longer be myself. When morning came, I left B3 in a near-empty daze. I didn't see Dr. Kwong. I didn't see anyone. I only noticed that on the duty desk, right where I had been sitting, there was an extra white tag. I didn't need to pick it up to know what was written on it. I walked away quickly, not daring to look back. That night, I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time. The face was still mine. But for a brief moment, very brief, I saw the corner of my mouth curl into a smile that I was certain I hadn't made. And in that moment, I understood that my shift on B3 wasn't over yet, even though I had already left that place. I took 3 consecutive days off from night duty. I told the department I had a viral fever and needed monitoring. No one asked any follow-up questions. That was strange. Normally, being short a night shift doctor is a serious issue. Yet this time everything passed quietly. Almost too smoothly. I stayed in my rented room. Curtains drawn tight, lights on day and night. But the more I tried to hide, the more I realized something terrifying. The cold of the basement hadn't stayed at the hospital. It had followed me home. On the first night at home, I woke up at 2:13 a.m. There was no nightmare. No loud noise. I simply opened my eyes. My heart beating unnaturally slow. The room was pitch dark. The standing fan motionless. In the air lingered a faint metallic smell, very familiar. I lay still, ears straining. Then I heard it, the soft scrape of metal. Click, click. I sprang up and turned on the light. Nothing. The refrigerator was closed. The windows were locked tight. I laughed weakly at myself. Cold sweat soaking my back. But when I turned toward the bed, I saw it, on the tile floor. Right beside the bed, a thin trail of water stretching toward the bathroom door. Cold, clear. I stood frozen for a long time, not daring to step over it. On the second day, I went back to the hospital to see Dr. Kwong. I needed an explanation, or at least a denial. The 4th floor office was still there. But when I knocked, the nurse looked at me with a strange expression. "Who are you looking for?" she asked softly, her eyes slightly avoiding mine. "Dr. Tran Van Kwong." She was silent for a few seconds. Then she shook her head. "Dr. Kwong passed away." I thought I had misheard. My ears rang. My throat went dry. What? When did he? My voice trembled, my heart racing. Almost a year ago. A stroke. He was on night duty that night too. I stood there, stunned. A year. I had met him, less than 2 weeks ago. I remembered his voice, the paper, those deep, hollow eyes. I muttered a quick thank you and stepped back, my head spinning. By the time I reached the hallway, I had to grip the railing because my legs felt like they would give out. That evening, my phone vibrated, a message from an unknown number. No name, just one line. "Come back for night duty. We're short-staffed." I didn't reply. I turned off my phone. But near midnight, I heard knocking at the door. Very light. I stood up, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the wooden door. The knocking came again. Louder this time. Knock, knock, knock. Pause. Knock, knock, knock. I backed away until my spine hit the cold wall. My hands shook. I remembered the red ink words. The ritual knocking for the dead. I didn't open the door. I didn't breathe loudly. Outside, silence stretched on. Then I heard a very soft voice through the door. "Open up." The voice was horrifyingly familiar. Slightly hoarse, sounding just like me. "It's so cold." I covered my mouth to keep from screaming. Tears spilled without me noticing. I sank to the floor, back against the wall, hands over my ears. The whispering continued, sometimes near, sometimes far, as if circling the room. The next morning, I decided to return to the hospital. Not to work, but to end this. I needed to face it. B3 greeted me with the familiar smell of bleach. But today the metallic stench was stronger. The hallway was dark, the lights flickering slowly. I walked step by step, my heart hammering. The duty desk was empty. The incense bowl was still there, but the ashes were piled high, as if someone had kept it burning all night. I touched the edge of the desk. Ice cold. I looked up at the camera monitor. Camera 4 was on. On the screen, I saw someone standing with their back to the camera. A familiar figure. Slightly hunched shoulders. Head bowed. I held my breath. The figure slowly turned around. It was me, but pale. Lips bluish. Eyes sunken deep. There was no fear left in those eyes. Only patient expectation. "You're back?" The voice came through the speaker. Low and steady. No static. "I've been waiting a long time." I staggered backward, my heart threatening to burst from my chest. "What are you?" My voice broke, my throat burning, my hands shaking uncontrollably. The double smiled, very slowly. There was no malice in that smile. Only a terrifying sense of inevitability. "I'm just covering your shift. You're tired." At that moment, I heard metal behind me. Very close. Cold, damp breath brushed the back of my neck. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. But I knew a drawer was opening, and this time, it was opening for me. I closed my eyes. Only one thought left in my mind: if this was the end. I wanted to know, when had I stopped being one of the living? And as that thought flashed through me, I heard another voice, very distant, very deep, not mine, not Dr. Kwong's, whispering inside my head. "Drawer 13 is not full yet." The words echoed slowly, like a promise. After that whisper, I no longer remember how I left B3. My memories were torn into scattered fragments. Like a videotape yanked out mid-play. I only remember an icy sensation spreading from the back of my neck down my spine. Then everything went dark. When I woke up, I was lying on my rented bed, clothes still on, but damp and cold, as if they had just been pulled from a freezer. The wall clock read 7 a.m. Sunlight streamed through the window. Yet it carried no warmth. It took me a long time just to breathe. My mouth tasted bitter, with a faint metallic tang. I stepped out of bed and shuddered as my feet touched the floor. The tiles were unnaturally cold, even though the weather hadn't turned chilly. I scanned the familiar room, searching for any sign that the night before had been a dream. Then I saw it. On my left wrist, just beneath the thin layer of skin, was a faint circular bruise, exactly like the mark of a hand that had been gripping me for a very long time. I didn't return to the hospital for the next 2 days. I turned off my phone, drew the curtains, and lived like a shadow. But no matter how hard I tried to hide, that basement found ways to seep into my life. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the low hum of refrigeration units. Every time I turned on the tap, I smelled bleach. And every time I looked into the mirror, I felt as though my reflection lagged half a beat behind me. On the third night after I blacked out, I heard a child crying. Not in a dream, out in the hallway of the boarding house. The crying was soft, broken, and came at 1:15 a.m. My heart clenched. I remembered that rule very clearly. I sat still on the bed, hands gripping the blanket, my throat bone dry. "Go back to your mother, it's late," I whispered, barely audible, every word heavy. The crying stopped instantly. The silence that followed terrified me even more. I heard small footsteps running away, then stopping right outside my door. A very faint breath sounded, close to the wood. "Open the door," a child's voice stretched unnaturally. "It's so cold." I bit my lip until it bled. I didn't answer. I didn't move. After seconds that felt like hours, the footsteps retreated. I stayed curled up until morning, not daring to sleep. That morning, I received a call from the hospital number. I didn't answer, but the phone kept vibrating, as if someone refused to accept being ignored. On the 5th call, I lifted it with trembling hands. "Are you okay?" The voice on the other end was painfully familiar, low and slow. "I've been coming down to look for you these past few days." I froze. It was Dr. Kwong's voice. There was no mistaking it. Who are you? My voice was hoarse, my heart racing. A soft sigh came through the line, as if the person was smiling. You forget that quickly? If I weren't here, who would hand over the shift to you on B3? I hung up. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Immediately after, messages poured in, not one, many, all with the same words, come back. I started digging. I searched old hospital records, quietly asked longtime staff. They avoided me or pretended not to know. But one rainy afternoon, an elderly security guard pulled me aside. His expression complicated, his voice lowered. You touched drawer 13, didn't you? I didn't answer, but he could tell by my face. He sighed and lit a cigarette with trembling hands. That place used to be a burial ground. Not one grave, many. But one of them refused to leave. Every few years, a young person takes the night shift. And then someone stays, forever. Stays, how? My voice shook, my throat tightening. The guard didn't look at me. His eyes fixed on the empty space ahead. Working, living, talking, like a normal person. Just one difference, they're no longer themselves. That night, I had a very long dream. I saw myself lying inside a cold drawer. Unable to move, I heard the hum of machines. The slide of metal. I saw a figure standing outside, leaning down to look at me. It was me, but with empty eyes. No hesitation left. Go to sleep, the voice said. Terrifyingly gentle. I'll take the shift for you. I woke up gasping. The clock read 2 a.m. My phone lit up with a new message. Tonight is enough. At that exact moment, I heard knocking at the door. Not 333, but a steady, slow rhythm, like a heartbeat. Knock, knock, knock. I stood up, legs weak, staring at the door. A thought flashed through my mind, chilling my blood. If I didn't open it, whatever was out there wouldn't disappear. It would simply wait until I had no other choice. And the most terrifying part was this, somewhere deep inside me. A part had begun to wonder whether opening the door was truly the worst mistake after all. I opened the door. I didn't open it right away. I stood there with my hand on the doorknob, feeling the cold seep through the metal. Outside was silence. No knocking, no breathing, only a very clear certainty that if I didn't open it, whatever was there would not go away. It would stand there until I was exhausted. Until I opened the door without even realizing it. The door opened. The boarding house hallway was empty. The neon lights on the ceiling flickered weakly, casting a pale white glow over the damp tiles. There was no one there. But the moment I took a step forward, I smelled bleach. Strong, familiar. Let's go. A voice spoke right behind me. Very close, very soft, as if whispering into my ear. I turned around. I saw myself standing there. Not a reflection, not a hallucination. Someone who looked so exactly like me that, standing next to a mirror, I wouldn't be able to tell us apart. There was only one difference. Its eyes were calm, no fear, no hesitation, as if it had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. What do you want? My voice was hoarse, my heart pounding wildly. It smiled, a very faint smile, almost sad. I want you to rest. I stepped back, my back pressing against the cold wall. I'm not going back to B3. It didn't argue. It simply tilted its head, its gaze growing deeper. You don't need to go back. Drawer 13 followed you out. At that moment, I heard the sound of refrigeration units. Not in my memory, right beneath my feet. The tiles trembled slightly. I looked down and saw a thin crack forming, stretching along the hallway like a fracture in ice. Cold air poured out from the gap, carrying that familiar metallic stench. I don't know where I found the courage to run. I only know that I ran. Ran into the night. Ran out of the boarding house. Ran until my lungs felt like they would burst. I didn't dare look back. I was afraid that if I did, I would see it still walking behind me, slowly, patiently. I woke up in a hospital. Not Huyen Quang Hospital. A provincial hospital, very far away. They told me I had been found unconscious by the roadside. With no ID, no phone. I had been in a coma for nearly a month. When I woke up, the doctor said I was lucky. My heart had stopped at one point, then started beating again on its own, as if someone had returned me. During my entire hospital stay, I didn't dream. I didn't see B3. I didn't see drawer 13. I didn't see the double. There was only a long, quiet emptiness, unnaturally calm. I began to believe that everything was over. Until the day I was discharged. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, washing my face. The white light made my face look paler than usual. I stared for a long time. Everything seemed fine. I exhaled in relief and reached out to turn off the faucet. And then the image in the mirror lagged by a beat. Just one beat, but it was enough. The corner of the mouth in the mirror lifted before I moved. A very slight smile, very familiar. "Don't worry," a voice spoke inside my head, not coming from my mouth. "I'm covering the night shift now." I stepped back, my heart racing, eyes locked on the mirror. The reflection returned to normal. I stood there for a long time, until a nurse knocked on the door to call me out for paperwork. Now, I live somewhere else. I no longer work in hospitals. I avoid basements. I avoid places that smell like bleach. I'm writing this story not as a warning, but to remind myself that I am still alive. At least, that's what I believe. But some nights, when I wake up at exactly 2:13 a.m., I hear the faint hum of refrigeration units drifting up from somewhere very deep. And in that moment, I'm no longer certain whether the one lying in this bed is truly me, or just someone who was allowed to keep living, as long as he never asks who is working the night shift in his place. And here, the story comes to an end. Once again, this entire story is fictional. All characters and events are purely imagined and do not exist in real life. If you found the story unsettling, please like and subscribe to the channel Darkness in the Night to continue exploring stories from the shadows. Sleep well.